everybody. We've all heard the saying, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Well, that 5 o'clock is here and now. I am Gina from Venissimo Cheese, and I want to welcome you for tuning into our first ever virtual cheese and beer pairing happy hour. It's a tough time right now, and just to touch on it, really tough. And I'm really appreciative of all of you that have showed up today to just be with us, to lighten the mood a little bit of everything that's going out there. We are staying open here. I'm at Venissimo Mission Hills. Been open for 16 years, and I plan to be open for at least 16 more. So we're working kind of through this. Really been appreciating your support in joining us here, in shopping with us, in placing orders with us, getting things delivered from us, telling your friends about us. It really, really helps. Not just me with Venissimo, but all the mongers who work with us for so many years, including this gentleman right here, Robert Groff, Robbie G, aka Professor McCheese.
Thank you.
Robbie G has been with us for 11 and a half?
Almost 12.
That's ridiculous, that's crazy.
I think 12 in May, I believe.
That's awesome. 12 in May, he knows his stuff. I was gonna say shit. He knows his cheese. So he's gonna be the one guiding us through our tasting this afternoon. I'm gonna be here a little bit to provide my opinions on some of these pairings that we've come up with. And then we welcome, of course, your feedback if you've got questions about it. Happy to try to answer those as we progress. So, for those of you that did pick up a cheese plate from us, you're going to notice that you had 4 cheeses on the plate. So, the plates might all look slightly different, but all the 4 cheeses are there. What else do you have on the plate? We've got corn nuts and cornichons, and maybe some sweetie drop peppers. These are all just palate cleansers, something to go in between all the tastings while you're at it. And then please hold off on the dessert if you can stand it. A little piece of chocolate, of course, because who doesn't like chocolate? The 4 cheeses, I'm going to have Rob tell you about in just a second. We went with 4 beers. This was a recommendation from one of our beer experts over at Bottlecraft. And what we did today was kind of 3 styles. We've got right here a sour. It's Belgian. So it's gonna, yes, it's from Belgium and it's sour. We'll tell you more about that when we go on. This one is an IPA. It's really bright citrus. That's another category we're doing today. Kind of along the line of Belgians as well is a Tripel. So we kind of did 2 Belgians to compare and contrast today. And then we have a Stout. You don't have to have these exact beers at all. You could have any beer you want. You could have wine. We don't care. We just want you to have a fun tasting experience today through all this. So I guess we'll start with Rob. How do you want to start? Yes, you give a little intro.
Why don't we start with a little pairing 101, and then we'll go through each pairing as we pick them, kind of in order. And I want to start with some guidelines. Like we stay away from the term rules because really there are no rules. There's no right or wrong. What tastes the best to you is the best pairing. So again, no right or wrong. Let your palate sort of guide you. But we have things that we think about when we put these together. So as Gina mentioned, we've got 4 cheeses, and but before we get into each individual pairing suggestion, I want to give you some just 101 general pairing guidelines. So things to think about in terms of flavor, complementary pairings, and that means similar flavors that come together and complement each other. That would be an example of a complementary pairing. Contrasting pairings are opposites that kind of balance each other out. So salty sweet, for example, would be a good example of a contrasting pairing. The third type would be regional pairing. What grows together goes together. So it would be a beer from San Diego with a cheese from San Diego. The fourth type is textural pairing, so nothing to do with flavor. It would be, say, a triple cream with a really sudsy beer, or sparkling wine if we were doing wine. And then the fifth type, which I love, are what we call the wild card pairings. And that's where we are sitting in the back of the shop and we're just tasting beer and cheese and having a good old time, and we just find some great pairing that goes against all of the books and all of the traditional ideas or views. So we'll touch on each one, and we've picked pairings that we suggest, but we also suggest that you try a little bit of everything with everything. So with those sort of 5 types of pairings in mind, other things that we think about are going in order from mild to wild. So we start with the milder flavors, and then we get into the wilder, crazy stuff. This is Venissimo, so we don't have any sort of boring, super mild cheeses. They all pack a punch. So we're going to start fairly big as we go. Shall we get into the first pairing?
Oh, please, let's. So, shall I tell a little bit about the beer?
Yeah.
Okay, what we have first, you guys, is a pale sour. This is from, if I'm going to butcher the name, Omegong Brewery. Pale sour. Belgian style. Belgians tend to be sour. And my understanding is, if I get the terms right, that it's because there's some esters in the beer. It gives it a little bit of that sourness. It gives a spritziness, a brightness to it. And this is a really bright and spritzy one. I can guarantee you, because I've already tasted it. Here's the beautiful color of it. It's really light. To me, this is one that you would drink it, when the sun comes out, stays out, and it's really nice. This is the one you're going to want to drink, for sure.
All right. So the first cheese that we picked for the first beer is the Beamster, and this is it. It's that kind of dark orange or yellowish one. It's the hardest cheese of the bunch. And another thing I should mention, when we pick 4 cheeses, we are thinking about picking 4 very different cheeses, different looks, different textures, different flavors. That's important because we just want nice contrasting, and we want to be able to really tell the difference between the flavors as we play around. So the Beamster extra aged is a cow's milk cheese. This is what it looks like. It's from Holland, so it is Dutch. Holland, a province in the Netherlands. Oh, there's the phone.
Somebody's placing an order. Thank you, whoever that is. Beamster.
And so it's aged. This is probably 2 years old or so, and it's got kind of a sweetness, and that's due to the way the cheese is made. And as it ages, it gets a lot of texture, so you get those crunchies. It'll have kind of a caramel or candy-like sweetness to it. And if you look closely, there's little white flecks in it, and that's the amino acids or the tyrosine crystals. You can kind of see that little hole in it. And it's also kind of regional. Regional pairings are really playing off this concept of terroir. Really probably more applies to wine, but it's fun to play around with beer as well. It's a Belgian style beer, but it's made in upstate New York. So when it comes to regional pairings, you can play off the traditional regional pairings, but do say a Belgian or a certain style of beer that's made in the United States with the traditional versions of the cheeses that are from the old world.
Yeah. Now, Rob, Professor, excuse
Yes.
me, pardon. With all due respect, what if I want to taste this with these other cheeses?
Yeah.
Can I do that and kind of see what I think? Because this is really good together.
Yeah.
I do love the sour with the sweet of this cheese.
Well, so the other one I would suggest to try with this would be the second cheese, which is the Capriccio Cabra. And the Capriccio Cabra is the soft goat cheese with the herbs on the outside. The cameraman is focusing in on it there. It is white in color with the green herbs on the outside, and it's softer texture. So save some for the second beer.
Okay.
But the Capriccio Cabra is from Spain, and it means whimsical goat. But it is very, very, it's a good representation of a traditional younger goat's milk cheese. It's tangy, it is sour, so paired with sour pale, it's going to give you a lot of those complementary flavors.
Yeah.
So a very, very totally different pairing than the aged Gouda.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of fun just to try opposite cheeses with the same beer.
Yeah, that was completely opposite. And I'm going to agree, Rob. I've not done this tasting myself, you guys. This is my first tasting, so I'm doing this exactly with you. But the Beamster, it almost made this less sharp than it usually is to me, which is okay. It's still caramel and toffee and all that. Loved that. But this one was all about citrus and bright. Like, again, this would be my summertime pairing.
Yeah.
This would be my wintertime pairing for some reason. Like this was all warm and fuzzy, and then the Capriccio was bright and lively. Yeah, but both so good.
So I was thinking, when we're tasting, what I always suggest to do is try each individually. So try the cheese on its own, try the beer on its own, then kind of as a third step, try the cheese, a bite of the cheese, and wash it down with the beer. If you want to kind of taste like a pro, that's what I suggest. But no, you're right. The goat cheese so the second cheese with the first beer also gives you a good textural pairing. We live in San Diego. This is a beer town. And a lot of people argue that beer goes better with cheese than wine does with cheese. We probably do more beer and cheese pairings here in San Diego than we do wine and cheese pairings, which is sort of funny, but it's fitting. And one of the arguments for beer is that, especially craft beer, they're so complex, but you always get a good textural pairing with the creamy and salty cheeses. So this is a really good example of a textural pairing as well. Yeah.
Love it. All right. So we're going to move on now to an IPA. Okay. I don't know about everybody else. So this one, oh gosh, which one do we have here? This one is called Beechwood Citraholic. Citra, the name itself implies a lot of citrus notes into this one. Mm-hmm. It's a lot lighter than most IPAs. I think of IPAs being those thick, heavy kind of beers. This one's really light. It's again got that fruity citrusiness to it, and but really like malty hoppy. I'm not sure which one I'm getting on this one, but it's definitely more intense than the first one. Oh yeah, this one's got a bite to me, a finish, a bitterness to it. I don't know if everybody agrees. Definitely hoppy. When it's bitter, hoppy it is. But I like it. What are we going to do this one with?
Well, so this is the one that we picked the goat cheese for.
Okay.
And I know, looking at books and charts about pairing, you don't see this suggested a lot, a young goat cheese with IPAs. Usually you see blue cheeses or cheddars or aged Goudas, like bigger, more robust cheeses. I like this because, again, it's back to that textural pairing, but also the tangy sourness, goatiness of the cheese really contrasts with the beer, and it should sort of calm it down or tame it a little bit. Did you get some of that?
Yeah, it did, because it's so, sorry. Maybe because it's so bitter, you're right, that the creaminess of that cheese, or like you said, the brightness of it does tame the bitterness, which I like, because it is really bitter, and which means heavy to me, personally, but I do like that a lot.
Well,
it's nice.
When I mentioned the types of pairing, it was complementary, contrasting, textural, and regional. So I feel like you get that contrasting pairing like I first discussed. And then with the citrus, a lot of young goat cheeses have kind of citrusy notes to them. So you get that complementary thing going on with that. Textural, because you've got the creamy cheese with the effervescent beer. And then if we had a California goat cheese, like, for example, something from Cypress Grove, or there's a number of them made in Northern California, that would have been we would have hit on all four types of pairings for that. Again, you can play around. You can find really all American cheeses, California cheeses. They're just copycats of European classics. So this is from a region in southern eastern Spain called Murcia, and I don't know if I mentioned it. The name means whimsical goat. It's like a 2 to 4 week old goat's milk cheese. And it's really fun to play around with.
Yeah. Now this is interesting, Rob, if I can make a comment, because I went back to the Beamster with this now IPA, and it totally dulled the flavor of this one to me.
You don't want that.
Yeah, I don't want to dull it, because then the cheese, they need to kind of stand together, side by side, right? That's what I look for.
Well, and if I could suggest, so a lot of the traditional pairing books and guides will tell you to try blue cheeses with an IPA. So maybe try our blue cheese with the IPA just to see what happens.
Let's do that, because the blue, this one's really earthy, powerful, barnyardy. Right there, it's a Stilton, everybody.
Gina, what color is the blue?
Okay, I haven't had that much beer.
And who's buried in Grant's tomb? Okay.
Roosevelt.
Oh, yeah. I'll stop. We'll talk a little bit about the blue now, but we are going to get to it again later. But that's Stilton. That's the classic traditional Stilton from England, cow's milk. What do we think?
I don't know what everybody else thinks. I think that's really delicious. I tasted the Stilton on its own today while
Yeah.
we're preparing all these boards, and to me it was like tasting the barn floor. It
Yeah.
was really intense. But you put it with this, and it's just that right amount of blue.
Okay.
Like, I think these are complementary. So I think IPA with blue
Uh-huh.
is a great idea. That was good.
This is what the Stilton looks like, and everybody probably has a little piece of the rind. It is a natural rind. It's probably the most common question we get. Do you eat the rind? Do you leave the rind? On the Gouda cheeses, you will probably find a wax rind. Don't eat that. It'll take about 7 years to digest that. But with the Stilton on the natural rinds, you can absolutely eat it, but it's up to you. This is another blue that I pulled out, also from England. This one's called Shropshire. And very similar, just a little color difference, and that's due to the dye that's in this yellow Shropshire cheese. But they are from adjacent counties in England. They're both cow's milk and very similar texture.
Okay, Rob, so that's awesome. So you're saying we're an IPA town,
Yeah.
San Diego, that you can't go wrong almost with the blue and IPA. Like,
Yeah.
you're ever wondering, oh my gosh, what should I serve? Really, it is a classic.
That's a pretty safe one. What I learned from early on in doing pairings was I had this rule with tangy with hoppy, and there's really a couple types of tangy cheeses. You have like that sour goaty tang of soft goat cheeses, and that's what we did here. The other type of tang when it comes to cheese, at least we've learned how to describe cheeses from being behind the cheese counter for 12 years. The other type of tangy cheese are the aged cheddars, and that's more of an acidic tang, and of course cheddars have a firmer texture as well. So cheddars are also a pretty safe pick with IPAs. I always say, look, if you love IPA, you can get 3 very different IPAs, and you can get a blue cheese, a cheddar, and a goat cheese, and just play around with everything.
Yeah, nice. Okay. I'm feeling good so far. I don't know about everybody else. We're going to move right along now to the Tripel. So this is Belgian. This is classic. Anyone in the beer world probably has seen this label. I have. I'm not
Yeah.
even the best beer gal. About a Westmalle M. Not pronouncing that probably right, but a Trappist ale.
Yeah.
So this one, as opposed, that one was very hoppy. This one is very malty. Some banana, cinnamon, and clove. You might get lots of spice in this one, which to me always screams fall, but we'll
Yeah.
see what we think. This to me is what I picture a classic Belgian beer to be,
Absolutely.
Yeah, so.
So we did the classic pairing. This one we sort of we went the home run,
Yeah.
which is the Chimay. So this is a cheese from Belgium, and it is also made by monks, just like the beer is made by monks. This is what the cheese looks like. It's a cow's milk cheese, and it's also a regional pairing because it's from the same country. But it's in a style that is referred to as washed rind, and that the rind is the outside, like the skin of the cheese, and it changes color when the cheesemaker or the affineur, in this case it's monks, wash the cheese. And for this particular cheese, they actually wash the Chimay cheese in Chimay beer, which is a
They don't wash the monks?
Roger made a joke. Similar beer actually to the beer that we've paired it with, and washed rind cheeses are also sometimes referred to as stinky cheeses. That's what we call them, but behind the counter here, but they can use any sort of liquid to wash the cheeses. It could be a brine, which is a salt water. It could be a liqueur. It could be wine, anything, and it sort of changes the color of the rind to a pinkish or orangish, so you can see that, and it makes it more pungent than it would be otherwise. The one thing to note is that the flavor is always milder than the smell. I know when I first started working in this shop 12 years ago, I would come in and the smell would just hit you like when you walked in the door. I don't smell it anymore.
At all.
But I always tell people, before we have you smell this cheese, just taste it. They're very kind of brothy, oniony, complex. They're usually served towards the end of the tasting because they tend to be stronger cheeses. But that's the Chimay. And texture-wise, semi-soft, not quite as soft as the goat cheese. but a softer one. An example of another washed rind cheese that I'm sure a lot of people have heard of is Munster. I don't know if we have any Munster in our case over there, but Munster is, it kind of looks like this. It's one of the strongest, stinkiest cheeses in the world, and it's from Eastern France. It looks very, very different from the deli sliced Munster cheese and if anyone has seen, the grocery stores are empty right now, but if you in a couple of weeks go to the grocery store, look for the Munster, they have that kind of that colored on the tip of it, and it's meant to look like a washed rind cheese.
Exactly. Mimic it. With
exactly.
no flavor.
It's a copycat.
Yeah. This is amazeballs.
Do you like?
I do.
Yeah.
I mean, the cheese itself is so good. The little grittiness you get on that washed rind is so delicious.
And so that's going to be regional. So cheese from Belgium, beer from Belgium.
Yeah.
It is going to be textural. Mm-hmm. It is going to be contrasting. All kinds of stuff going on there.
How come the monks get to do all the good things? Make the cheese, make the beer.
The monks were the original DIY. They did everything themselves.
Yeah.
We're just catching up with them.
Love the monks.
I want to be a monk one day.
You're going to be a monk?
Yeah.
Perfect.
We're all monks nowadays.
I think so, right?
We're all hermits.
Yeah. Exactly. Awesome. So far, so good. I'm happy. I hope everybody else is. We're going to move on to the fourth beer that we suggested today to go with the blue cheese, and that is a stout. So most famous stout, probably Guinness, right, would be the most famous stout in the world. This one is a New England brewing company. It's a chocolate coffee stout.
Yeah. They're out of San Diego.
Okay. Did they start in New England?
New English is the name, and they're out of San Diego.
My bad. San Diego. And it's meant to go with the Stilton, correct?
Yeah, so we have it with the Stilton, but again, play around. We've done so stouts tend to be more malty, kind of sweeter, and so I mentioned earlier how the Gouda has a kind of a sweeter flavor to it, a subtle sweetness. If you want to do something complimentary, try the Gouda with it. If you want to do like a coffee with cream thing, you can do the goat cheese with the stout. But we did it with the Stilton, and for a number of reasons. We wanted to do the Stilton, the blue cheese last, because we didn't want to wreck your palate right off the bat. We also had a little special treat that we threw in with the blue cheese, and that was that piece of chocolate.
Oh, and, the chocolate.
So people had different ones. There's one is a s'mores chocolate, and the other one is a salted caramel.
That's right.
Chocolate, but it's going to give you that kind of sweet complimentary thing, and plus it's dessert. And so the stout is a coffee and dark chocolate stout, so it hopefully will bring out some of those notes as well. But play around. I mean, I was the washed rind, the Chimay. We were thinking just for that the Westfall. Mm-hmm. Or Westmalle, but try it with the other ones as well.
I'm gonna try. I've tried them all. The only one I don't like with this is the Chimay.
Oh, really? Yeah.
You lose the Chimay.
Uh-huh.
All the other ones are delicious. Can I tell you? I think that the Capriccio Capra with this is like a root beer float. You know, you get the ice cream in a float. Uh-huh. That's screaming delicious. The Beamster, because that's caramel. This is really caramely. This is really chocolatey. Yeah. I mean, what a cool combination. Almost like a Snickers bar or something. I mean, it's just really, really good together that way. And then the blue, well, that goes without saying. I mean, that's going to be good with stout any day of the week, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we picked the traditional English blue with the San Diego English style stout. And that was kind of a play off of the whole regional pairing idea. But it's just fun to play around. And so we talk about these different types of pairings, and they work for whatever you're doing with the cheese, whether it's whiskey, whether it's wine, whether it's beer. These same sort of guidelines apply, and we're thinking about them. Or if it's just food in general, sometimes we're thinking, we need a little texture there, so let's throw in like some nuts, or throw in like a crunchy vegetable or something with it, just to kind of hit the different types of pairings and flavors.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
So good. Well, I don't know if anybody has any other questions tonight. What I'm going to do is after this video is completed, I will type up exactly which, I don't even know what I'm saying. I've had too much beer. I'm going to type up the beers that we served with the pairings that we did. I'm going to post this on YouTube for anybody else that maybe is not a Facebook fan and wants to jump up there to watch. This is our first one. If you didn't hear us very well, we'll work on the sound next time. If you have any comments, I mean, we would love some feedback because
There's a funny comment if you look.
it's very good. I got a message from a Dan Groff. Would you know someone like that?
I know that name.
You know the name?
Is it about, hold on, before, I can't see this, but I'm going to predict, it's something about my appearance. Is it about my man bun or my beard?
It is appearance. You know him too well. I love Stout. He loves Stout. Did you know this?
No.
Oh, okay, Dan loves Stout.
Uh-huh.
And he wants to donate to the fund to get you an adult-sized T-shirt.
That's so sweet. Thank you so much.
We'll work on that, Dan. We'll work on that.
A tight T-shirt makes me look stout.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So I will type it all up, you guys. I mean, thank you again for joining this, for buying the cheese plates. I hope you're having as much fun as I am. Just whatever you're tasting, drinking. Awesome. We need some levity these days. Mission Hills, we're here daily, 10 to 3, for all your cheese needs. We're keeping our special distance. I would love to give you a hug. We'll wait until after, but thank you.
Virtual hug.
Virtual hugs for now. Del Mar, if you're in North County, next time we'll make sure we get some plates up to the North County for everyone that wants to taste up there. But Del Mar will be open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 10 to 3. You can call, you can email an order. We want to take care of you. We do curbside, grab and go pickups, and we're also doing deliveries all about town, Metro San Diego. So really appreciate your support. We have too much fun with this business. I think we're all going to get through this. I'm thinking it's super positive. And things like this and getting everyone together, even this way, is a good thing. So let's keep that up. I can only say thank you, Rob. Bravo. And I guess I'm going to go home and then finish all these. So good night, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Stay safe.